Bills Ravens, it was a push for both Bradley and I, who were on opposite sides of a
First
three-point
pushes.
spread, and the Bills won by 3 points, so we both got a push. Now, that's a bit of a disappointment because I was hoping that we could like actually have a competition there, but it's
Yeah.
literally a wash for the both of
It was
us.
tough. I really thought in the first half I was going to be gloating, but
No,
then I thought maybe you were going to be gloating in the second half.
they came back methodically. And some of these games, it was rainy, not
Yeah, like
necessarily.
bad conditions, like which you would think maybe would benefit the Bills, but they seemed to be struggling in the first half with
Yeah.
the rain.
And the Ravens were at the very least able to get a good performance out of J.K. Dobbins,
Oh
which
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
significant because they were struggling to find some rhythm in the run game that wasn't Lamar Jackson. Oftentimes the Bills have struggled with that same issue with like it's just Josh Allen such a force running the football, different kind of running than Lamar who can take it to the house, but these are the two best running quarterbacks in the league, and they faced off against each other. It's just, Allen will get you those gritty yards, and he's such a big body that he can truck people over, where Lamar is just so fast and shifty.
Like if he breaks contain and kind of shoulders off tacklers, he can just like in open space is just like lightning. Like he just like you can't. He's not catchable. Whereas Josh Allen, it's a similar thing. That it's hard to tackle him, but it's hard to tackle him because he's so huge.
Yeah,
Like
and these are the two of the three best quarterbacks in the league this year, and so watching them face off was good, even if the game could have been more high powered if the conditions weren't the way that they were. But I thought that the Ravens hung in there defensively more than I thought that they would. So you had that a little bit closer to reality than I did.
I
But
think it's just the line for the Bills is still a bit of a concern. I mean, it's still it's not they to their credit. It's also not as if they played that poorly either in terms of like the score in the sense of like Allen wasn't constantly besieged and like he wasn't constantly getting he didn't have like runners in the backfield every snap or anything like that. But I just still think that is the kind of that's like one of the probably few open questions, maybe almost besides Singletary, like the run game, like we were saying outside of Josh Allen, probably the only like two question marks on that entire
how is it
roster.
possible that between two offensive coordinators and seeing how great Dayball has been with the run game in New
Yeah,
York, like how have they still been unable to get a competent run game
it's
there?
it's a little tough because it is hard to answer that question as to whether it's a product of the coaching staff that's not able to get that juice in the running game, or is Singletary not effective? Is he simply just not a particularly effective back?
Yeah, but at the same time, he's more effective, it seems like right now, than James Cook and
No, but that
uh
right,
and Zach Moss.
right.
So I understand they're trotting Singletary out there, and maybe they didn't miss. Maybe their running back coaching isn't doing that well because, and maybe James Cook will grow into that role. I
Yeah, he's
mean,
a rookie. Yeah, it's
yeah,
still
right.
early for
So
him.
we'll see, but it is a bit of something to flag, in my opinion, about the Bills. But
Oh, really quick. But speaking of run games, I really just did want to highlight this. We were talking. There was some concerns about how Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a pretty great for week one game, but they kind of
yeah,
fizzled out. I got to give real credit to
Spill
undrafted Isaiah Pacheco.
Pacheco.
In
Is Isaiah Spiller another
He's
player?
another
Yeah,
running
yeah,
back,
yeah.
correct?
Isaiah
Yeah.
Pacheco, right?
Uh,
Who took Tyreek Hill's number? He
yeah,
looked really good
undrafted
last week.
undrafted guy out of Rutgers, go Scarlet Knights. He was taking kind of the brunt of like Jarek McKinnon's carries, kind of like the RB2 role. But honestly, he's looked kind of as like had some flares and had some dynamism like relative to the pedigree of the first rounder CEH. So like I could see him potentially getting more involved if that continues as the season goes on.
Yeah, and I've been happy for CEH because he has had a bit of a resurgent season. But just quickly back to
Yeah,
the
no, no,
Bills. I mean, what this reminded me is that yes, the Bills defense is better than the Chiefs defense, and so on a whole, in terms of both sides of the ball, maybe they're the better team. But where I feel they aren't the better team is I feel that their wide receiving core is pretty overrated and not as deep as it should be. With Gabe Davis out and Stephon Diggs, and again, they won the game, so I get that. But there's too much on Stephon Diggs. It's too much on Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs because, they're always trying to get the ball to him. And when you don't have the number two out there, and I know that McKenzie went out with a concussion, another one of the kind of quick yanks because in response to the Tua uh, injury, I just feel that I wish there was more depth at that position for a Super Bowl favorite. That's just my feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Khalil Shakir out of Boise State, who was a late round pick for the Bills, but it's hard to rely on guys like that who are very, very green in their career, and especially when that's kind of like a depth piece after McKenzie's out. McKenzie and
Davis is
Davis
hobbled.
are dinged
Yeah.
up. Davis was definitely not much of a factor this game. Um, I think that's probably, beyond any sort of concern with the line or concern with the run game. It's more just like you said, a matter of usage. Like how much can this offense get out of Allen and Diggs primarily, and what can they get out of the margins? What can they get out of, like, when they need a play or when they need a scheme or when they need a plan that can't or shouldn't necessarily rely on those two factors of Allen and Diggs. Can they do it? Like, can they find that?
Right.
Because going into the postseason, like, that has to be a consideration. Like, you have to be able to find things like that are not just your main wellspring of talent and of planning and of scheme, that, like, which are completely or almost entirely reliant on Allen and Diggs when they're not, when Allen's either Allen scrambling or Diggs running a great route. It just has to be, there have to be auxiliary you know there have to be auxiliary plans besides that, especially in the postseason.
Right. Right. Exactly.